Y'all, what's going on with the rail strike? Okay, 1 minute we're told um, by the president, right, that they reached an agreement, everything's fine, no need to worry. And you all know in my previous videos about this, okay, I asked the question, well, were we lied to? Did he speak? Did our president speak prematurely? He spoke, or it seems that he spoke before any of the officials, the people who were actually in negotiations. It seemed like he spoke before they had a chance to speak about it. I asked those questions. So now here we are today. And, the news comes out that, hey, they haven't fully reached an agreement. They haven't agreed to all the, new terms or whatever has been presented. And we're right back where we were, just a few weeks ago, right? So welcome to the channel. Thank you all so much for supporting me here at Andrea Speaks TV, where I bring you news and commentary you can use. Listen, if you haven't already, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Not only am I inviting you to subscribe to the channel, but make sure that when you subscribe, hit all notifications. That way, whenever I do upload new content every week, or if I go live, or if I post, make posts to our community tab, our new community tab here, you will be one of the first to know. Okay, y'all, I want to come and I want to talk about this renewed rail strike. Okay, what's everything that's going on with that, and I want us to have a conversation about what's really going on. Are we really being told the truth about this? Okay, all right, y'all. So this information comes from CNBC, and the title of the article says a renewed threat of rail strike has supply chain managers, ramping up contingency plans. All right, now, according to CNBC, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, or the acronym is BMWED, which the article says is the third largest rail union, rejected a labor deal with railroads that the Biden administration had helped to negotiate. Now, first question I ask is, okay, well, what happened? Like, what really went on? Okay, let's see what the article says. Logistics managers are dusting off their plans for a possible railroad strike in November, which is what, literally right around the corner, right? We're almost at the end of October. For a possible railroad strike, the article says, in November that could wreak havoc on the supply chain. And listen to this, y'all. I've spoke about this previously. And could cost the U.S. economy up to $2 billion a day. All right, listen to this, y'all. The National Carriers Conference Committee, or abbreviated NCCC, representing the nation's freight railroads in the National Collective Bargaining, notified the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters on Wednesday that the union's latest proposal will not be accepted. Think about that, y'all. A deal between the rails and several large unions to avert a strike, with recommendations from the Biden administration, remember he spoke about this, was moving closer to completion before being voted down by the BMWED last week. Okay, here is a quote by the NCCC, who said in a statement, "Now is not the time to introduce new demands that rekindle the prospect of a railroad strike." Okay, Tom Nightingale, CEO of AFS Logistics, tells CNBC that logistics managers are fielding calls from customers in anticipation of a possible strike. Okay, Nightingale was quoted as saying, prudent shippers, the article says, this is actually Nightingale's quote. He said that prudent shippers already had a plan in place a month ago. Look at the timeline of all this, y'all. Prudent shippers already had a plan in place a month ago, and most who did not have now ramped up their contingency planning after the wake-up call last month. Okay, he also was quoted saying that proactivity is the key to supply chain success. Okay, so they're trying to look ahead, I assume, to all possible outcomes, what could go right, what could go wrong, and they're having to plan ahead, because at the end of the day, y'all, these goods that are traveling by train, they have to get to the stores, they have to get to the consumers, you and I. There's money involved in this, and in some cases they may be transporting They may be transporting food items or whatever type of items that have an expiration date. They may spoil, so they have to keep things, moving along. The article goes on to say that for many intermodal shipments that use multiple modes of transport, such as ocean, trucking, and freight rail, there can be a week between when cargo is picked up and when it makes it onto the rail lines. Okay, that's according to Nightingale. The lag time, he said, will exacerbate the effects of delays and service interruptions. So effectively managing the risk of intermodal disruption means you must plan early and often, he said. Okay, now check this out, y'all. In anticipation of a strike in September, Norfolk Southern, Berkshire Hathaway subsidiary division, in anticipation of a strike in September, okay, Norfolk Southern, Berkshire Hathaway subsidiary BNSF, CSX, okay, a lot of acronyms here, and Union Pacific all began ramping down freight approximately 5 days ahead of the strike date in an effort to move critical hazmat materials such as chlorine and ethanol. That freight took priority over common freight. Okay. Nightingale also was quoted as saying this: shippers had a lot of sensitivity to the potential rail strike. No shipper wants to lose their job or risk losing a customer. Okay, remember I talked about the end user. They don't want to risk losing a customer when they have had this much advance notice to a looming disruption. Okay. As a result, AFS saw a significant uptick in customers, the article says, looking to shift loads away from intermodal to other modes like truckload and even less than truckload shipping, okay, or LTL as it's abbreviated. Nightingale was also quoted as saying that shippers don't want cargo with a limited shelf life. I just talked about this, y'all. I didn't even know this was coming up, okay? Shippers, and I quote, Nightingale said, shippers don't want cargo with a limited shelf life sitting at a rail yard, particularly commodities like chemicals and refrigerated food and beverages. Okay. Under the Railroad Labor Act, the article says Congress has the ability to impose the resolution from Biden's Presidential Emergency Board or order the trains to operate as usual with an extension of negotiations. Okay. November 19th, which is next month, is the earliest that rail unions can strike. Okay. So remember that date, y'all. November the 19th. Okay, we got some important dates coming up in November. We know the election is November 8th. I hope that's the correct date. I believe it's November 8th. Very important elections going on throughout our country. We know, okay, November 19th is the earliest day. The first article that I'm reading where it actually gave a date, November 19th is the earliest that the rail unions can strike. We know that for many of us who celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday, Thanksgiving is coming up as well. So I mentioned all of this before. If there are things that you need, okay, whether this will whether they will go on strike or not, I don't know at this point. Based on the information, it certainly seems like a possibility. But I would encourage you to get the things that you need while they are available, and to not only get them while they are available, but to get them at the current prices. Okay, we've talked about food shortages before. Doesn't seem like food prices are going down based on the research I've done, and what other other experts are saying. But definitely, if there's some things that you need, get them now while you can. Okay, now some people may say, okay, well, Andrea, food isn't the only way that they transport. So basically some people may say, okay, Andrea, so food isn't the only item that's transported on the railroad. There are other items, and yes, I do know that. But I would say that this is going to have an effect on not only if there is a rail strike, I feel like it's going to affect shipping, transportation all across the board, whether it's by ocean, trucks, I feel like, or by air. I feel like it's going to affect everything. Do you all agree or disagree? Let me know if you have any insight on that. But again, if it's something that you need, get it now while it's available. I would encourage you to. I can't tell you what to do. I can just make suggestions. But I would say get what you need while you can and at the current prices, because you don't want to wait around and wait and hoping things get better. And all of a sudden you're paying dollars more just because you waited around. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the article is pretty long. The article also says that there is anger among union workers. Okay, so a lot of times we hear other people speaking on behalf of the union workers, but we don't really hear from them directly. So the article says that there is anger among union workers. Okay, on October 18th, the article says the BMWED posted on its website a letter that members could use to send their congressional representatives covering the quality of life and benefits issues, which have been a major sticking point in negotiations over a new contract. Okay, see how they're reaching out to their elected officials to make change. And, like I've said before, our elected officials, we're right here. Well, this is considered midterm elections. We're putting people in office that we're trusting. This is not anything new I'm saying. We're putting people in office that we trust are making decisions in the best interest of our people, of our community, right? So, I commend them for wanting to reach out to their congressional representatives, because they should get involved and to help them in whatever ways that they can. Okay. The article says one of the key points of contention is the BMWED looking for more paid time off. Okay, especially, the article says, for sickness. Okay, here's a quote. The letter said the push for paid sick time off could potentially lead to congressional action. While we hope the carriers will acknowledge the concerns of their employees and negotiate with us, it is important that we are prepared for their unwillingness to address quality of life concerns. Okay. Here's another quote by counsel for BMWED and chief spokesperson in the collective bargaining, who told CNBC, the railroads consistently, and I quote, the railroads consistently underestimate the frustration and anger of the workers. Okay, workers can't take it anymore. The Presidential Emergency Board, or the PEB, ruling is just a recommendation. It is not a lid. Carriers have made the determination of not doing more than the net equivalent of the PEB. Okay. Union Pacific CEO told CNBC during an interview, and I quote, we've got some negotiating to do with that union, and we've agreed to status quo. We're in status quo while we're doing that. I'm confident, he said, we will find a way to craft an agreement that can be taken back out for ratification. That doesn't mean a strike is not possible, he said. It just means, in my opinion, or in that person's opinion, I don't think it's probable. We've got plenty of runway to figure out. Okay. Now, the article also refers back to September 15th, before the previous national strike deadline. An agreement was announced by Labor Secretary Marty Walsh between the two largest unions, the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, or BLET, and the Sheet Metal Workers Transportation Division, abbreviated SMART-TD, and the National Carriers Conference Committee. Okay, the BMWED is the third largest union with 23,900 members. Okay, here's a quote, and it says the railroads have made billions off of their workers. These are incredibly skilled jobs where sophisticated pieces of equipment are used. The workers do not feel valued. Okay, that's the story of them, as well as what many employees all over the country. Maybe that is why in certain areas we see more of a labor shortage, because for whatever reason the employees don't feel valued. Okay. There's another quote. Those new hires came on board for the same reason most railroaders stay for life. Railroading is a career that allows you to railroading is a career, the article says, or the quote says, that allows you to both support a family and take deep pride in your work, the AAR spokesperson said. Okay. Let me go back up. The paragraph before that said one of the worries among logistics experts is workers quitting. But the AAR spokesperson told CNBC that train and engine service headcount was up 7.4% in September compared with January. Okay, Fritz told CNBC that UP's attrition rate is near its historical norm this year, and its hiring plan has been right on target with no indication of any, and I quote, great resignation at the rail carrier. Okay, the article concludes by saying that the article concludes by saying that workers need to be able to take off when they are sick. Under the present policy, workers are penalized. Okay, think about that, y'all. Workers are penalized for taking off for being sick. Now, I'm sure there may be more to it, but just the thought of that is like, what? Railroad executives are so deep into their own bubbles, they think all of this is okay, Edelman said. Okay. All right, y'all. So let me know your thoughts about this whole railroad strike. Do you think it's coming? Do you think they will ever reach a negotiation? What's really going on? What will it really take for our union workers and these railroad companies to reach some type of mutual agreement? Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thank you for supporting the channel. I'll be back in another video.